Assyria, and they brought about the demise of the Assyrian Empire, and they too became to great power. Uh, Babylon, the Babylonian Empire, or the city of Babylon, or that region that was known as the Babylonian Empire, for many centuries was called the land of Nimrod. And that's biblical. You can look at Micah, the 5th chapter, verse 2. It tells us that it was called the land of Nimrod. It was established in the 7th century B.C. The city Babylon was established somewhere around 626 B.C. It was built into a major city by some believe by some of the patriarchs that lived during and before the time of Abraham. And it's located about 85 miles from Baghdad. So that gives you kind of the area of modern day Iraq where these cities were built. And you can go today and visit the ruins of these ancient cities that have been picked up or discovered by archaeologists. When they found Babylon, the city of Babylon, they revealed that it contained 2,605 acres within the walls of the city, so a pretty massive city. It was located on the mouth of the Tigris-Euphrates River Valley, which that valley is 250 miles wide and 60 miles or 50 miles long, and the deposits from both of these rivers was probably not unlike what Judy and I saw down in the Mississippi River Valley when we visited one of those old plantations down there and saw those enormous water oaks there that they were, 200 or 300-year-old trees, maybe even more. And when we look at the background, the history of those sugar plantations, it was like sugar was money. Those people grew so much sugar. There was one picture I remember seeing, this old barn where sugar was piled about 12 or 15 feet high. And that was how wealthy and so rich and fertile the Mississippi River Valley was. Well, that was the case here in this Tigris-Euphrates Valley as well. The river created unbelievable fertility. Babylon revolted, as I said, against Assyria and took power in 626, and Nineveh fell in 612 BC. The empire of Babylon came into world dominance at that time. It began to come into world dominance. In chapter 11 of Genesis, it says that they decided that they were going to build this great tower. Now, it says here, and the whole earth was of one language and one speech, verse 1. And they said, go, down in verse 4, let us build us a city and a tower whose top may reach unto heaven. And, of course, a lot of scholars, and Mr. Armstrong even said years ago, if they wanted to reach heaven, they would have got up on the tallest mountain around there and started building their tower. Instead, they're down here in the river valley, probably the lowest point in the whole region, and they built this tower. Well, it was obvious. Why do men build tall buildings today? Why do they erect these giant steels and pinnacles today? You can go over there in some of the cities we visited, even here in the United States, look at the Washington Monument. That figure, that design of having the tallest tower erect as if it's really trying to tell us something. And so it was with ancient Egypt. So are some of the steels and things that we saw over in Rome when Judy and I were there, that they have right there in the middle of some of those piazzas and squares that are 35, 40, 50, 90 feet tall, whatever they might be. They're scattered all over the world, and you can see them even today, these ancient monuments. They wanted something to say, this is us. We are the dominant power in the world. And it says, whose top may reach heaven, and let us make us a name, lest we be scattered abroad upon the face of the whole earth. And of course, this is where God went down and he confused the language. Look at this. Let us go down here in verse 7, and there confound their language, that they may not understand one another's speech. So the Lord scattered them abroad from thence upon the face of all the earth, and they left off to build a city. Therefore is the name of it called, look at verse 9, Babel, or Babylon, which means confusion. That's the origin of the name. That's where the word Babylon came from. Babel means confusion, because the Lord did there confound their languages of all the earth, and from thence the Lord scattered them abroad upon the face of the earth. Babylon would grow and build over the next centuries, and it would come